Hey everyone, welcome back to our Unreal Engine tutorial series. In this episode, we'll create a preview mesh of a pillar that will spawn when the player touches the screen. We'll start by making a translucent material for the preview mesh, then create the pillar mesh using Unreal's modeling tools, and finally set up a blueprint to spawn it. Let's get started. First, let's create a folder called Materials in the content browser. Inside this folder, right-click, go to Material, and name it _preview. Open the material to access the material graph. In the material graph, you'll see the result node, which defines how the material looks and behaves. To make this material translucent, go to the Details panel on the left, select the result node, and change the blend mode to translucent under the material section. Now, let's add a color to the material. Hold 3 on your keyboard and left-click in the graph to create a Vector 3 RGB constant node. Use the color wheel to pick a color or type in specific RGB values. Connect this node to base color pin on the result node. Next, pull from the opacity pin on the result node and search for scalar parameter. Name this parameter opacity and set its value to 0.5. This will make the material semi-transparent. Press apply in the top left corner and save the material. Now let's create the pillar mesh. Go to the top-down map and click on selection mode in the top left corner. Switch to the modeling toolbar. Under shapes, select box to place the cube in the map. Once the cube is placed, adjust its dimensions in the toolbar to create a pillar. I've made a square-based pillar with a height of around 375 units. Under the material section, click the drop-down and assign the M_preview material we just created. With the pillar mesh selected, go to the Details panel on the right. Under the Static Mesh section, click the Browse to Asset button to locate the newly modeled mesh in the content browser. Press F2 to rename the mesh to something convenient like SM_pillar. Now, let's create a blueprint based on this pillar mesh. Go to the Blueprints folder in the top-down directory, right-click, and select Blueprint class. Choose Actors, the parent class, and name it BP_preview mesh. Open the blueprint and add a static mesh component by clicking Add in the Component section. Select the static mesh component and in the Details panel, assign the SM_pillar mesh we created earlier. Now, let's add some functionality to the blueprint. Go to the Event graph and drag the static mesh component from the Components tab into the graph. Pull from the Static Mesh node and search for Set Static Mesh. This node will allow us to change the mesh dynamically. Pull from the new mesh pin on the Set Static Mesh node and promote it to a variable. Name this variable preview mesh. Make sure to check Instance Editable and Expose on Spawn in the Details panel so we can assign the mesh when spawning the blueprint.